welcome to GunplaTV, sponsored by HobbyLink Japan. And today we're going to be working on the arms. But before we do that, I want to say thanks to everyone who submitted entries for the Playing with Plastic competition. We've got hundreds of entries to go through, so we've been busy viewing and reviewing, and we're going to let you know who the winners of the prizes are that you see behind me very shortly. All right, the new kit we're going to talk about today is the Gunpla starter set. For those who are looking to get into Gunpla, this is probably the perfect kit for you. Not only do you get one kit each of the RX-78-2 Gundam and Zaku, but you get a little booklet detailing what tools you can use and some tips on how to make your Gundam look that much better, kind of similar to what we've showed you in the beginning episodes. As you can see, everything you need is here. 2 HGU kits in one, plus some tips. Perfect for starting. All right, next up we're moving on to the modification that I hinted at last time. And it's going to be for the hands, specifically the fingers. And all I need for this modification is my Hasegawa saw scribers. So on the version 2.0 frame for the hands of our RX-78 Gundam, the fingers on the first joint are connected. So there's not a lot of flexibility. The second joint, they'll move independently. But the first joint, the last 3 fingers all have to move together. So what we're going to do is take out our trusty saw, do some cutting, and we're going to have independently movable fingers. Here's all the pieces I need for my hands here. You can see that the piece that we're talking about, it's all one piece. We have separate joints for the end of the fingers, but not the first knuckle. So we're going to be cutting this up. What we use is my trusty etching knife. Oh man, I work in such small confines. First thing we do, start hacking. Wiggle, wiggle. As you can see, separated very nicely too, because these etching knives are excellent for, these etching knife parts are excellent for cutting very narrow pieces. Like that. Taking my knife, maybe clean up some plastic here. All right. Take some sandpaper. Maybe 1,000 grit is good enough. Clean up what you've done. There we go, and there's one. And repeat. So now when we connect the finger parts, sorry, my hands are too big. Finished. Oh, there it is. We got fingers. So today we're going to be building the arm, and before we start the building, let's compare it to the old RX-78-2 version CA that we had lying around. You can see that the version CA is not very flexible, there's not a lot of action, it's pretty disappointing when it comes to posing. However, the version 2.0 frame is super flexy and super sexy, and you can get it to do a whole variety of things. First step of the arm here, plug these in pretty easily. Put the elbow cover on here. Easy, yeah? Moving on, we're going to move to these are the moving parts. These parts act like, I guess you'd say, like cylinders or hydraulics to help move the arm along. And there's a top and the bottom, so be very careful. The manual has you fold this over like this so you get this kind of shape. And then you start with this one. Slide it in here and then bend it over so it clicks in. Oops, sorry. And then we have the first part of our movement. So the next part is the same. This one looks like an L. And it says that you need to slide this part in first and then click it in. And as you can see, it moves as well. So now we've got a moving frame. It looks like a machine, doesn't it? From there, we put our first pieces of armor on. So, something to cover the back of the elbow. And these little circles that always show up on the elbows and the knees, the ankles. From there, you're going to actually assemble it with the rest of the frame armor. So this part will slide on the top. This part will slide on the top, perhaps. While this part, for the bottom, consists of 3 pieces. 3 pieces. So we take this one, slide it in, but make sure that this part opening is at the back. This is very important, as well as this opening. It needs to be at the back, like that. If you make a mistake on this one, it's going to be very hard to take it apart. Trust me, I know this one. I know from experience. Plug it in. As you can see, there's our armor. Add the poly cap, which is what's going to be what holds your hand on. Here. Gotta push it all the way in there. And then this part of the frame cover. And then we'll put this aside for a second while we put this hand together. So you already saw me cut the hand and fingers in the modification. Your thumb slides in this groove here. Thumb first. Then you have your pointer finger, which is made up of 2 parts. This is part of the modification we did previously. Stick that in. And now these 3 pieces, you have to watch because we cut these and they're not all the same size. But an easy way to tell is to look for the markings that you created when you made the cut. If there's a marking on this inside but not on the outside, that means that this is most likely the middle finger. If there's a marking on both sides, then this is going to be your ring finger. And then the small one, of course, is the baby finger, the pinky finger. It's kind of hard to get in when they're all separate, so you got to be careful. And then put the cover on and push it down. This will actually secure all the fingers in there nicely. And afterwards you can move them around, set them how you want them. I usually just leave them straight till it comes time to pose, just like this. Plug this in here. We've got an arm. Now we're going to do the shoulder. So here's this first part. This uses a poly cap, a couple small pieces, and slides down into this shoulder armor like so. Plug it in here. And now your arm is pretty much ready. When it comes to building the actual shoulder, you have 2 frame pieces. And they just slide into the one armor piece. And then you slide this piece on this, like so. So when it comes to attaching the shoulder and the arm to the torso, in the RX-782 version Ka and other older kits, what you would do is slide the shoulder armor onto the peg that comes out of the torso, and then you would slide the arm on. But with a 2.0, what you do is you put the shoulder armor attach it to the arm, and then you attach that to the torso. And what this enables the 2.0 to do is to have this shoulder articulate with the arm, as opposed to the shoulder armor just sitting static like on the older kits. We had a question from Yuri regarding what is my favorite kit, and so far I would have to say that it's whatever I'm working on at the time, but that's a lame answer. So I'm going to tell you the kit I had the most fun with so far, and it just happens to be the Master Grade Sinanju. This kit is fantastic. You don't have to do too much with it. There's not a lot of seam lines. The straight build is pretty impressive to look at, but of course when it comes to Gunpla you can do whatever you want. And what I made was I made the yellow bird. I actually took this design from a famous German car. So I wanted to get the color yellow contrasting with the silver and gold, and all the decals I had to order or make myself. But the result is good. Of course, if you don't want to go to the hassle of coloring it yourself or trying to decal it all yourself, if you still want a fantastic result, recently we just had the titanium finished version come out. And this thing is beautiful, straight out of the box. You won't need to paint it or anything. Clean up a couple nubs, put on the decals, and you're good to go. That concludes this episode of GunplaTV. This is what our full armor Gundam looks like so far. Next week we're going to be working on the feet and the legs. If you have any questions or comments, please be sure to write them in. Also, shortly we're going to be announcing the winners of the Playing with Plastic competition. We're going to find out who wins this big prize of Gunpla back here. It will be announced on GunplaTV, so stay tuned. See you later.